All right, so let's get right into it. If you're an indie artist, you know the feeling, right? Your career feels like this constant, chaotic hustle. But what if? What if you could actually transform all that chaos into a sustainable business that gives you more freedom to create? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're breaking down the blueprint for building your very own freedom machine. And look, here's the honest truth right up front. If you are releasing music, if you're playing shows, selling any merch, you're not trying to make it. You are already operating a business. The only real question is, are you doing it on purpose, or is the business running you by accident? And that really breaks down the two paths you can take. On one side, you've got the hustle. We all know what that feels like: burnout, constant chaos, just pure guesswork. It leaves you totally vulnerable. But on the other side, you have the business. And that's all about building a system that gives you clarity, protection, and ultimately the freedom to focus on the music. So to get there, we're going to follow a really clear 5-step roadmap. First, we'll dig into why you're already a business owner, even if you don't feel like one. Then, we'll build the blueprint for freedom, choose your legal shield, protect your music, and finally, we'll tackle the, let's say, unique challenges of being in a band. Okay, first things first, let's start with a little reality check. So many indie artists get quietly robbed. And not by some, cartoon villain in a suit, but by their own messy setup. It's just the high cost of being an accidental business owner. So, how does this actually happen? Well, it's when nobody's really clear on who owns the songs or the master recordings. It's when money just flows in and out of a personal Venmo account with zero paper trail. It's not setting up your publishing correctly, or, and this is a big one, never writing down how the song splits are supposed to work. You do all the work, but the money either never finds its way to you or it shows up with a fight attached.
But here's the reframe, and this is so important. Building a business isn't about becoming some corporate drone or losing your soul. It's about creating a powerful system that actually lets you stop worrying about all that other stuff.
Yeah, the whole point isn't to kill the vibe with a bunch of spreadsheets. It's to build a structure that gives you breathing room. When artists say, I just want to focus on the music, what they usually mean is, I don't have a system in place, so everything feels totally overwhelming. This is that system. And a good system has to answer these kinds of questions before they turn into an argument. Who actually owns the master recordings? Who has the authority to sign a sync deal if one comes in? How are we tracking our tour expenses for taxes? And of course, the big one for bands, what happens if a member decides to quit? A solid structure answers all of this before it becomes a crisis. Okay, so let's get practical. The first major step in building that system is choosing a legal structure, a legal shield to protect you and your work. For most indie artists, it really just comes down to two main options. Now, if you do absolutely nothing, you're what's called a sole proprietor. That's the default. It's easy, it's cheap, but there's no legal wall between your business and your personal life. So if someone sues the band, your personal car, your savings, that could all be at risk. And that's why the LLC is so often the sweet spot. It creates that legal separation, and it signals to venues and partners that you are a serious professional. Think of it this way. An LLC is basically a legal box. You take your music business, all the money, the contracts, the risks, and you put it inside this box. And just like that, you've created a clear, protective line between your business life and your personal life. So an LLC really has two main jobs, and they're both super simple. First, it separates. It builds that protective wall we were just talking about. And second, it signals. It tells the rest of the world that you're an organized, intentional business that they can trust. And honestly, that perception alone can completely change how people in the industry treat you. But, and this is a huge but, an LLC is not some magic spell. It only protects you if you actually respect the separation. That means opening a separate business bank account and keeping clean financial records. Those two things are absolutely non-negotiable. If you start mixing your personal and business money, you can actually break that protective wall. So once you have your business container set up, you need to protect what's inside of it, your music. And this all starts with understanding what might be the single most confusing concept in the entire music business. You have two core music assets, and they are not the same thing. On the left, you've got the master. That's the actual sound recording itself. It's owned by your record company, which in this case is probably your LLC. On the right, you have the publishing. That's the underlying song, the melody and the lyrics. That's owned by the songwriters. They make money in totally different ways and are tracked by completely different organizations. Getting this right is absolutely crucial if you want to get paid correctly. So, on the publishing side, here's your simple to-do list. First, you need to join a performing rights organization, a PRO, like ASCAP or BMI. Then, you have to register your songs with them. You also need to register with the MLC to collect your mechanical royalties from streaming services. And remember, this isn't a one-and-done thing. You have to keep it updated with every single new song you release. And hey, on the master recording side, do not forget Sound Exchange. It collects digital performance royalties for the recording itself from things like satellite radio. So many artists miss this. It is literally found money just sitting there waiting for you to claim it.
All right, finally, let's talk about bands. Because a band isn't just a bigger solo act, right? It's more like a tiny democracy with really expensive gear. The structure you build isn't just about business, it's about protecting the relationships inside the band.
So, think about it for a second. What is the number one reason bands break up? It's not bad reviews. It's not even really creative differences. What's the real killer?
Ambiguity. It's all the unspoken assumptions. It's when nobody knows how the money works or who gets to make the final decision, until all of a sudden it's a huge problem. That's what tears friendships apart.
The solution? A band operating agreement. This is your anti-chaos tool. It's a written document where you decide, before it gets weird, how everything is going to work. How you split income from gigs and merch. How you determine songwriting credits. How you vote on big decisions. And yeah, you've got to talk about the hard stuff. What happens if someone leaves the band or is asked to leave? Having this on paper protects the band. And maybe even more importantly, it protects the friendships.
And that really brings us back to the core idea here. For decades, the music industry was basically designed to keep artists dependent and kind of in the dark. By taking these steps, you are actively building the complete opposite, a career that's based on your own independence, on clarity, and on control.
So that's the real question to leave with. Take an honest look at how you operate today. Is it just a reactive, chaotic hustle that's burning you out? Or are you intentionally building a system, a true freedom machine that will sustain you and your art for years and years to come? The choice is all yours.